that I'm talking about that in our print control option. And put that here in the row format, and then below I've showed some output of what that looks like. And again, we'll go into Management Reporter in just a minute and we'll see action. So that's action. Our next is called a box format. And the way that we get this is through our form code, and our code is always in column C of our row definition in Management Reporter. And the code to put a box around a specific section of your report is BXB. So you're going to use the BXB command to start your box and BXC command to complete your box. So two different commands, one starts it and one ends it. I see someone asked a question as well. I'll answer that. Under the normal balance column, what is the C used for? And that's used typically to designate that an account has a credit balance, so that it will show appropriately on the report. Okay, here, as I said, we use a BXB and BXC to begin and complete our box. And then see on the bottom here what output looks like once we actually put the box around something. Again, it's just going to put a box around that section where you start it and end it. It's not going to box your whole report. Frequently for columns too, to put a box around columns. Feature we're going to talk about is indenting. So sometimes we want to indent the sub category. So if we're looking at sales and we want to indent sales, returns, and discounts and other income. A lot of times I see people just spacing in 3 times or 5 times to get that moved over. And then if you don't count it on every single line, sometimes it doesn't always line up right. So you can just use that indent option, which is up on the toolbar in Management Reporter, and we'll indent the line, and it's the same amount of spaces. Either use that, so everything will be uniform. And shading, and then we'll go into Management Reporter, and we're going to take a look at these features that I've just talked about. Get to spot shading. Also shade your line if you'd like to give them a pop in your report. And the way to do that is with the paint button up here. Fortunately, there's no button like there is in Excel where you can just kind of format the whole thing as a table and it goes through and auto shades. You have to do each line separately, but you can see here that you can do that. I'm actually going to share my screen for a minute here and to Management Reporter. So we're at some of these features that I just talked about on the slides there. Some statement report. My row format here. First thing that I talked about was the currency symbol and putting it on total revenue line. And you can see that that's already there. We'll click on that. You have a bunch of options that I can choose from here when it pops up. CS for currency, but I can choose non-printing to not go. The suppressed stuff, I'm going to get into that in just a little bit, so I'm not really going to cover that right now. We'll get back to that in a minute. Put a currency symbol on my total revenue sign, and then in my I put a total revenue. So it would come up here to the format code. I just did an XB for begin box. Choose BXC, and that's so talked about indenting. So I'm over here, and I'm going to grab these 3 ones here, and I'm going to push the button, and you can see that lines up all of my items underneath revenue, and they're all uniform. I'm going to put some shading on these, and I don't know, that's okay. You get the point. I'm going to go through and shade everything. I think you get the idea of what I'm doing here. I've shaded 2 columns here. And I give my row. Okay, that's fine. And then don't get tripped up, and then drive demo, you get tripped up. And I'm going to generate this report, and hopefully we're going to be able to see those features that I just went through. Give this and first thing I did was add the dollar symbol to my total revenue line. My items that are underneath the revenue category, so you can see those indented there. I also add shading to my sales and my sales returns and discounts, which we see here. One other thing that I did, I indented, right? So everything was lining up. See those features that I just showed you in action? Well, I'm going to show another logo to our reports. So we're going to come over here to header and footer section. And the section is open here, so I'm just going to stick the logo in the section, but obviously you can put the logo anywhere in any of these sections. So what I click on images, and pick my image, which already here, if this image wasn't here already and used it previously, I would click add, and it just takes you out to a file browser where you can select where you have that image saved. Once you used it one time, it's going to show up in this window, and then you can just click on it and insert. Okay, take a look at what that looks like with the logo added to it. So this, and right here in the middle of my screen, it looks a little bit funnier. I wouldn't normally put it there. I probably would put it on the left-hand side, but you get the idea there as far as being able to insert a link onto your reports. We're going to talk about a couple more features here. Just did a second ago. I moved ahead there. Features. If you remember a minute ago when I went into the row format and indicated that there were some other options there, those there's a print where you suppress it's blank, meaning it will not print on the report if there's no amount for a specific line item on the report. So the way we do that is in the print control column G, we put the letters XO, and the amount would be suppressed if it were blank, meaning that we get just little sales showing up on the report with no dollar amount on it. Now, there's really 2 ways that you can use this feature. You can on the specific row format, or you can the definition itself just have this unchecked where it says display rows with no amounts. Is one of these options better than the other? The answer to that is it's what you're trying to accomplish. If you want one row to be suppressed, then easily do that from your row format in the control option. If you want that to be a standard across your whole report, then I would use option 2 and apply that to the row definition itself so that every item that doesn't have an amount does not print on your report. So if just one or a handful, the report definition option is a little bit better because it applies to report. I say better, again, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Report definition is going to apply it to every single that's in there. Management Reporter in a minute. We'll take a look at that feature. That we can sort by our natural account. Rows contain multiple GL accounts. So what this means is if we've used a range when we've specified accounts in our row, we can check this option and it'll show those accounts in or main order, regardless of which order we've entered them in the select them from. Option for suppressing detail, typing the drill down detail. Here is we would put an XD in the print control, and what it does for us if we have detailed information we don't want to be able to drill down into, for instance, salary information or commission information, something like that. We could put an XD on that particular row, and if we run that report out to financial account and transaction detail, if we try to drill down on the salary expense option, we drill down to that specific row, but we can drill down to other rows on the report. So a way that you can control distribution of confidential information on your report. All right, back over to Management Reporter and some of these features in action. All right, report from the last time. And go over here. And or print, I'm XO, suppress it if it's all zeros. Hopefully I don't have zeros in my film, or mine, that's not really going to be good, but if it's not show up on my report. That's one of the features that we talked about. About the XD feature while I'm on this screen, that down here, and it's going to hide the drill down detail. So I'm going to put XD, save this, and close it. Sorting by arbitral or main. And in our settings. And main. Second option that I was talking about, display rows with no amounts. Right now that's checked, so one that applies to the whole report. If I check that, it would apply to every line report. If there was a zero, it wouldn't print that line. And if that, then in that case, I wouldn't have had to put that on a specific row line in the row format. And take a look at what we get with these options that we've just added. here, let's drop down to our salary expense. But if I go to other employee expenses, I can drill down on that. We've suppressed the detail for our salary expenses. We can't drill down no matter how many times we click on that. We're not going to be able to see that for any rows on this report. Actual account, let's see. Yeah, I have the account number on here, but if I did, it's showing these in the natural, it's showing these in the natural account order because of that option that I checked, sort them by the natural or the main account. All right, I'm going to talk about a couple other features while I'm in here relating to the slides that are coming up. So it is sometimes when you run a report, there's a blank page that prints at the back of your report, and that's actually because there's blank rows down here at the bottom of your report. And if you're in that situation, you would just want to delete these rows out of your report, the blank rows, and not eliminate the blank page. Also, hopefully everyone knows this, but I'm going to point it out. No in blank rows in here, and when I click enter, I can't get blank rows available to me. The way they're going to get new blank rows available in your row format is to the down arrow. It's not intuitive. You want to go in and try tabbing or entering, and it just doesn't give you new lines. So the only way you're going to get new lines is to use the down arrow. And getting a blank page, you're going to want to eliminate those blank lines. You would only be adding new lines, trying to add new rows to your report format. Okay. What I want to point out is if your reports take a long time to run, you can see when I generate my reports, they're coming back in less than a minute, but they take a little bit of time to run. If you want to generate a report and you do changes to it, you can click this little button next to the generate button and generate that report. You can see how quickly that came back. Now, this is generated exactly the same way excuse me, it was the last time I generated the report. So if I've gone into GP and I've made changes to account balances, or I've posted transactions, or even if I've gone into my row format or column format and I've made changes, those aren't going to be reflected here. This is running it the way it was the last time the report was generated. If you make changes, then you still will need to use the generate button to see those changes. Okay. A couple options, because this covers the next couple slides that I want to talk about as far as outputting to the web viewer. This report, it's gone to the web viewer, and there's a couple cool things that I do from the web viewer, and they're all going to be found down here on the right hand side. So one of those are view report in multiple currencies from the same screen, and by clicking on currency that I want to see. Now, for me, in my test instance of GP, I don't happen to have multi-currency implemented. So when this report comes back, you'll see that it's going to be the same amounts here that are in the US dollars. But if I were using a different currency, then these amounts would be represented in whatever that currency was. We have here in the web viewer, we have a go-to option and the sections very quickly of a report. So my report here isn't a very lengthy report. Reports are much bigger than this. So clicking this go-to option will take that specific section of the report. So net income right now, if I want to go to manufacturing, I click on that and it takes me to that area of the report. So the Go To button is a way to quickly navigate your report and get to sections of your report. Another feature with the web viewer is the show feature, which is right here, the show button. And to click that, we quickly toggle between a summary report and a detailed report. At a more detailed level, if I want my lines only, I can click lines and you can see my report is quite a bit different than it was just a minute ago. Everything. So then toggling, I get summary. Okay, and take a look at talked about hiding the drill detail on the salaries. Page at the back of the report and moving those blank lines at the end of the row format. To side-by-side reporting in Indenting, I skipped that, and that's kind of cool. Last generated, where you'll just click that little button and it'll give you the report the way it was the last time it was generated. Viewing that currency button at the bottom, and take you between the different sections of the report. Summary lines only to toggle between a summary report and a detailed report. Now, some of these report building techniques, which are kind of cool. Again, I'm showing here. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you my sheet. I'm not doing anything here. Whoops. There we go. You're going to see that my balance sheet is just one long report. I have assets on top. I have liabilities and equity at the bottom. It's a pretty standard balance sheet format that we see quite often. And what I'm going to show you is how you can very quickly change the format of this report to be a report. So you can see I have my assets and here's my whatnot. Go into my row format. I want to have a column break, which is going to be right here above my liabilities. So assets, I want this to be a side-by-side report, essentially. I want assets on the left side, and I want my liabilities and equity on the right side. So I dug in my format code, column, and we're going to take a look at what that report looks like. So yeah, I've taken one long report, and I've kind of split it into to be a column report. We'll see our assets on the left and our liabilities on the right as soon as this generates. There we go. So my assets, and here's my liabilities over here. So you report just by inserting that column feature. Okay. Row building. And I'm going to do new row definition. I typically, when I build a report, I rarely start with scratch. I usually take a row format that's already out there. I'll modify that, or I'll use the wizard, and I'll go through the wizard and let the wizard insert my accounts. If we're going to start from scratch, then I can very quickly get some information from my accounting system into my row format without having to type every single account and every single account description. So the way I do that is I come up here to my edit and insert rows from dimensions. And the defaults here, I will account, and I'm going to say OK. I've gotten every account. It's not the typical balance, and I have a description, so there's really no work to do on that. I can go and put my totals in, and I don't have to do any typing. Inserted all rows. You can do with that, you have a range. You don't have to insert all of your rows. So click Insert Row, and then in here, except the default's up there, the way it's formatted, but in here I'm going to say 4,000 and then 999. Basically, in this case, just give me all my P&L accounts. Out all of my balance sheet accounts. So feature to quickly get data out of your ERP system without having to type everything. A row format, a column format, tree format, it doesn't really matter. I can tell F, and that's the definitions that are, whoops, over on the left. Didn't want that. I think I pressed the. And I'm left with a much bigger work area. Also, in the row, you can replace. For me, I have account categories in here, so there's not really anything to replace. But if I have an account and I'm looking for a specific account number, a natural number, I could type it in here, find the natural number, and replace it with this. And it would go through my report and replace it. So I don't have rows, I have hundreds of rows in my row format. Okay, my definitions back here. Let's see. Let's go to income statement. And so this is set up with categories. Okay, it doesn't matter. So if I wanted to, for instance, add an account, it doesn't matter which. Linked financial definitions. I can click F3 or double click in here to get to this window. I can just, and then I can go to account and I can click F3 again. It gets me to these lookups. So then double clicking or typing in some cells, it advances you to the next area. All right. I'm going to save this. Okay, we account numbers on our reports. They're not on the reports by, but we can add them. To do that, I actually have these added to a report that I have here. So if I, in my column format, now I've moved off of row and I'm in column, I've added a column that's called, and that will actually give me the number. Here. I think we're okay. And I'm seeing my account numbers because I added that ACCT column to my column format. If I hadn't added that, all I see is cash. I wouldn't see the actual account number there. you can get a rolling 12-month report dynamically. So here we go. This month I have too many of them. So this is a 12-month report. It's a base period, which is the current period, minus 11. So it's one of the 11 prior periods is going to give you a 12-month report. It's called a report because if I run this report for September, it's going to be September and the prior 11 months. Next, when I run it for October, it's going to give me October the prior 11 months. So I'm not having to come in here and change what I want to see the report for. It just happens dynamically because of the way that I've set up the format. So we'll take a look at that there. 12 months through September. So next month when I run this report, it will be 12 months through October. In November, it'll be 12 months through November. I'm never having to change anything on the report. It's automatically calculating plus the prior 11. Period specific, meaning date specific information on our reports if we want. So for a report here, it's weekly sales and discounts. And let's take a look at the column format. The row format's not really significant in this case. It's the column format that we want to look at. And we said, get me periodic amounts for my base period. And you can have 4 columns in there that are me the amounts for this. But then in the start and end dates, I'm further restricting that. So I'm saying for this period, date 7 and through 14. And so it's going to give me a 4-week report here when I generate this. So between the slides have this information on, like I said, for you to refer to. Concerned I'm going to run out of time if I keep toggling. Okay, that's awesome. I can't do my report. All right, that format is in the slide deck there. Debits and credits to a report. So in this current report, I have 1 column bringing back the periodic amount. This column format and it with a debit and credit column in it. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Original columns. This was the original column, periodic, and this one, the year-to-date, but stuck the debit and credit in between there. And you can see that the format is the same as column B, the periodic column, but column restrictions, I've put, I've put credit. And again, I clicked and I selected that from there. Hopefully we can get this one to run. This is better than the last one. Debit column and a credit column. Just drill down on this, and you can see my debit and transaction. I see all of my debits. For this particular account, there were no credits in this given time frame, but if I had credits show up here as well. I could set a row as non-printing. I can also restrict columns, making them non-printing, or I can restrict them based on a specific period. So by that, we're going to look at our 12-month trend income statement. And okay. First of all, in my print, I can double-click this, and it's non-printing if I don't want it to print at all. And I use that frequently if I have a report that has a budget amount in it, and I want to perform a calculation of the actual the budget and variance. Make a column non-printing, but you can still use that column in a calculation. What I've said, if the period that I'm for, if the column format is less than or equal to the base period, then on the report. Not less than or equal to the base period, then don't print it. So if I were to print this report right as of today for September, I'd be getting October, November, December on this report. So I've restricted it by period and month. The on this format is I've put a function in here for, so I want to average all my period amounts. And the way on that is I said it's a calculated field. Here's saying add columns B through, and then is a function. Close this. We're going to check this report and take a look at what that looks like. Okay, I ran this report for September. I did columns in my report in column format for October, November, and December, but because for September, as I did, it's printing the period, the columns for the periods that are less than or equal to November. That's why October, November, and December don't show. And then here, I have my average, which is taking all of my columns and dividing by that periods function to get my average for this each row on this report. The feature we're going to talk about is ratios, and this is pretty cool. Let's take a look at our row format. There's no magic in the column format in this one. See that I've designated a whole bunch of things here that I'm going to use in calculating down below here. specified each one of these that I want to use in a calculation. I've made them all non-printing. Purposes of this report, I have values associated with cash. I want values associated with current assets, but I don't want to see them as rows on my reports. All I'm getting, report as on my report. I'm going to put these in calculations. So I want that amount, and I'm getting calculation. So my current ratio, I'm 190, my current assets, and divided by my current liabilities. Printing my current assets amount, printing my current liabilities amount. I'm just getting those amounts, setting them as non-printing, and then putting them in a calculation here. I'm going to generate this report and see what that looks like. But based on those calculations that I had in that format. And you'll notice that all you're seeing is my ratios here. You're seeing amounts from cash or accounts receivable or current liabilities or anything like that. Those are used in the calculations that have gotten us to these numbers here. I'm going to show you. So we've looked at as far as a row format. We've specified our account numbers in our row format. So I'm going to take a minute here and show you how you can get a department report, but have this in a column. So in other words, we have our departments as the rows, and then we have our accounts as the columns. And we're going to open that up, and we're going to take a look at the row format and the column format. So when I open that up, you can see that I have each one of my departments here, and so on, and I'm doing, or divisions, whatever, it'll work that way for departments or divisions. So all here is specifying this specific division that I want to pull on the line item. And you'll notice that what's very different about this one compared to the others is that there's no account numbers on here. And I'll pull these by going into division here. The format, the row line. And then our column format for this particular report. This is my accounts from. So period, and I want the amounts for that period. And dimension filter, I have amounts that I want. So for this here, I want 4,100 to 4,800. But when I go to my net income line, I have my P&L account. So that's 4,000 to 9,999. And that, and we're going to generate this and take a look at this one. Okay, so we don't have very much here. Nothing in period. I'm in my test system and I have dates in here. Second, I'd like to see it with just a little bit more data than what. stuff in accounting and sales in this one, and we do have some stuff in our growth column this time frame. So this report's a little bit different because we see all of our divisions down the left here in our rows, and we see our accounts up at the top in our column. It's a little bit of a different way to run a report. Here to my slides. So through these slides, at this point, like I said, I was skipping, toggling back and forth. Find 3 to the next level, and click through to the end here. So that is the end of the Management Reporter demonstration. So hopefully there's some cool features that you'll be able to take away from this and use in building your reports, or maybe perfecting some of the reports that you already have out there. As I said, in the slide deck, the specific screenshots with what you're putting in a row or a column to get the feature that I talked about is added on that slide. So hopefully you won't have any difficulty. At this point, I'm done, and I'll just open it up for any questions that there might be.
Some questions that have started in. We have somebody that asked, what version of GP are you using here today?
Using GP 2015 R2, and using the most current version of Management Reporter. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is. I want to say it's CU12 or but it's the latest version of Management Reporter. I take a look at that.
Sure. Somebody asked that question as well. What version of Reporter is this?
Yeah.
While you're actually at that, there's another question that came in. Does it only reflect transactions that have a different currency?
Yeah, I think I understand that. To multi-currency,
yeah.
But I don't understand the details of that question. Reports get kind of hairy once we get into multi-currency. That person could provide maybe some more details on that. Yeah, I could answer that better. Yeah.
Is there a way to do different calculations for columns? For example, months are columns with a subtotal would add columns, but if you wanted percentages for net income, the total column adds the percentages and keep the net income.
That's a detailed question. So I don't know if.
Okay.
So I'm going to give a high-level answer. There's something in Management Reporter called a calculated base row, and you can calculate a percentage for each row in your report using a calculated base row. It's a little more advanced than anything that I've shown this afternoon. That's the way that you would accomplish that.
Adding accounts from GP, if the account had no amounts in it yet, it did not come over. Do we have to have data before they come over to the row?
That insert is pulling straight from GP. Now, if you have, this is actually a very important distinction. I don't know if this is the case in that particular instance, but companies, you have to specify a default company that you log into. When you do that, you can build reports for any company. You can run reports for any company. But when you're insert from row feature, if that account does not exist in the default company that you're technically logged into, then it's not come over. The insert from feature looks at the company that says the default company for Management Reporter. So at multiple companies, they can just reset their default, and they can toggle that back and forth. So if you reset the default company and that the would come in.
Another question just came in. How do I do a quarterly report? Let's see numbers from Q2 2015.
So you would want a rolling quarter, like we did the rolling, the roll of months, or you can set columns and call them Q1, Q2, Q3, and then in first column it would be your actuals for the base year, and periods you would put 1:3 for Q1, and then in the second column you would have to put 4:6 for Q2, and Q3 would be 7:9 and be 12. That would give you the years for a current year using the base period. Wanted to compare that to last year, fiscal year would be base -1, and you would still use the same form. It would be 1:3 to get quarters 1 through 3, but the base -1 would indicate that it was for last year as opposed to base, which would be this year. That's our kind of hard to explain without talking about.
Yeah, you can just follow up with some people.
Sure.
They require to tell you. Yeah. Okay, if you'd please go back and show your column for the 12-month periodic average.
Yes. Screen.
So a couple of questions that a bunch of people asked if the report will be available, and it will. We'll post it online within the next few days, and we'll email everyone with a link to view once it's online.
Periodic average, and this column format is also in this slide deck as well. Grab a screenshot or take notes or whatever. You'll be able to see it in the slide deck.
Okay, have row results appear on screen but not print. For example, if you have check figures / formulas in your report, you want to see the results but don't need them to print out in the report.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. So the way that I've handled that in the past, the short answer is no, not that I'm aware of. So I usually put a check figure in my row format and my report, so make sure that my check figure balances to whatever number it is in my report that I'm trying to balance to. And then once I'm sure that it's balanced, then through back into my row format, and I make that non-printing. But I don't know a way to dynamically or know that. I don't think that's possible. Sure, on the row format.
Here's another question. I have a large large chart of accounts. Has Management Reporter resolved the issue with DW? I can run it in legacy mode, but we'll run it in DW mode.
To the data warehouse, but I'm not sure exactly what the issue is that they're referring to. So I unfortunately don't know the answer to that question.
Can I display both base and home currency on the same report?
some of these technical. So I don't know if they're referring to functional and originating currency, and then you go between the originating currency and the looked at that through the currency tab on the web viewer. And there's a screenshot of that in the slide deck. So question.
Okay. Here's a question. Can you freeze panes in the viewer similar to Excel?
No, not. But you can freeze them. But viewer, you cannot freeze panes. You can go-to feature that I was talking about in the web viewer that will take you to a specific section of the report, but unfortunately, no, you can't freeze panes.
How can I get several departments on an income statement on one page by column? Is that possible? So I think,
yeah.
I think if you can consolidate a bunch of departments on a single income statement by column.
Yeah, I say that they'll have to do that is create a tree for, and in the column format, not dimension filter, under they'll pick that they want from they created. So that the departments will be columns, but the rest will still have the accounts. I think that will accomplish what they're trying to accomplish there.
Okay. Another question. Under the linked financial dimensions, are you able to use all 5 account segments when selecting accounts?
Might not be the most effective way to build a report. 3, 4, 5. That person must have 5 particular segments in their chart of accounts. So, yeah, you can do it, but it's restrictive. Building a report by account instead of an account, a report by ranges or account categories. The downside to that is that every time you add an account to GP, you have to Management Reporter and add that account to Management Reporter. Otherwise, accounts are going to be off. Where if you're able to pull just by a natural account, being just one of those 5 segments, other subset, department and segment, or those are ways to build reports. But the long answer that I gave is yes, you can use all 5.
How do you pull different companies into one report to consolidate?
Reporting tree, and node on your tree would point to the specific GP company.
Okay. See here. Is it possible to have prior month transactions detailed than as a back or forward balance? Previously, I could see details of previous month's transactions.
So
okay.
you have to have a column format where your period is base. You'd have to put another column in there that says base minus 1. So in that, you would get this month's transactions and last month's transactions.
Okay, let me see here. Just came in. Is there a place where we can see other formula items available, like the periods used in the 12-month average?
So other than the slide deck, if they have the default reports installed in Management Reporter, there's a set of default report definitions with Management Reporter. They're installed, sometimes they're not. If they have those installed, then you can go and look at the columns or the row formats that are set up in those default report definitions, and you can see formulas, column formats, row formats, formulas, all of that stuff in the default report definitions.
Okay, we currently use GP 2013 and use categories within the row format in Management Reporter. However, update an existing nominal code with a new category, this does not reflect within Management Reporter, and we have to get the IT department to resolve it.
Yes. So I don't know what version of Management Reporter they're on. The latest version, which is 12, and that is the version that I'm on, stable version so far. Past, there's been a lot of rebuilding of the data warehouse in Management Reporter for issues just like that. For some, they don't seem to always get reflected as quickly as they should. So in the past, we've had to rebuild the data mart quite a bit to see those changes sometimes. That seems to have resolved itself in this latest version of Management Reporter.
Okay. Notes in that they are on the latest version of Management Reporter.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I'm not seeing that issues in this latest version. So, not really sure what the issue is there then.
Okay. More questions that come in. We'll just give people a minute or two to kind of collect their thoughts and submit questions.
So maybe a little bit more detailed than what I can answer on the phone. I'm trying that will get them hopefully some information that they can use, but each obviously is case by case based and sometimes very specific to a customer and a given set chart account.
Okay, all the questions we have. So why don't we end here? Wendy, and thanks so much for presenting.
Thank
you. We were very happy to have you back here again. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their busy day. Earlier, the session was recorded, and we will be emailing out a link to all of you probably within the next day or so, hopefully before the end of the week at least. Once again, thanks everyone, and have a great rest of the day.